So we'd like to have the multiple object. What we need to use is for loop. I just press the for and tap 2 times, tap, and now it's going to create the predefined script over here. So what it's going to do in for loop is integer I equal to 0 and I is smaller than length and I plus plus. Integer one int I is it defines I equal to 0. I is going to be integer. And then what is the integer? There's a three kinds of numbers, but the other one is we barely use it, it's fine. Basically, it uses integer and the floats. What is integer? Is whole numbers. It's like -1 or 1, 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, these kind of whole numbers. It is called integer numbers in the script. And there are float numbers, which is floating point numbers, which is decimal numbers like 1.2 or 2.356 or 3.1456, something like that is called float numbers. So it defines integer number I equal to 0. So it starts from the 0 and then I in the end is going to be smaller than some number. It says length, let's say 10 for example. And now I is going to be smaller than 10, right? And there is another one is I plus plus. I plus plus is exactly same as I equal to I plus 1. This line and I plus plus is the same. Every time I is going to increase 1 by 1 by 1 by 1. And I said this is for loop. So I is start from the 0 and then until it reaches to the 9, which is smaller than 10, the maximum number of I is going to be 9. Until from the 0 to 9, I is going to be increased by 1 and each time. So which means it's going to do the same thing 10 times actually, because it calculates from the 0. 0 is the first, 1 is second in the computational life. So 0 to 9 means 10 times. Now it's going to do the same thing again and again and again 10 times. And now what we can do here, I will just copy and paste, and I'm just going to comment out. Well, when you try to comment out the longer line, slash star, and then star slash. So inside of these two things, everything is going to be comment out. And now we have the multiple object inside of the for loop. If I just play this one right now, it's going to create 10 bricks at the same location, 0, 0, 0. Now we can see that there are 10 objects over here, but all of them are positioned over here, which is 0, 0, 0. So how are we going to change the location? For example, we can simply use I actually. Let's multiply 2, which means 1 multiplied 2 is 2. And then next time 2, which means 4, 6, like that. It increases something like that because I is going to keep increasing in every time. Now we see, well, I mean, there's a no gap in between, so it looks like just one object. But obviously, it's 10 objects over here, right? And now, maybe to have the little bit of spacing, I can add 0.1 f. Without f, they don't understand if this number is float number or not. So this 0.1 is kind of float number, right? Not +1, sorry. Maybe it's better to do with the 2.1 f every time. 2.5. Because the reason why I'm doing this one is position of the object is always in the center of the object. Now I think it's kind of on the ground, right? Right. And now what we need to do is, so we want to make it upside, right? Or maybe before that, we want to control the numbers of the multiply. So now we use 10 over here, but what we also can do is we can do the public integer. Here, if I just put the public length, and then rather than number 10, we can say length is going to be go here, right? Then save this. So go back to the brick manager, and if I type down the 5 before we start the game mode, now we see that we have the 5 bricks over here. So this is how you control the numbers outside of the script. All right, so let's think about the brick wall. So we have to go up as well. We're going to have another for loop. So for loop can go inside of the for loop. And usually I represent x axis, and then j represent y axis, and k usually represent z axis. I will bring them inside of this for loop. This time, maybe let's create another integer height. And then brick position is need to start from the ground, so I will leave the 0.25 and plus j multiply 0.6 f. Now it's going to have the small gap in between, but it goes up, right? So if I save this, so for example, length 10 and let's go height 5. And now we're going to have this kind of wall over here. 10 times and 5 times. So just to add a couple more things for this one, I want to have some spacing just inside of the start. We also can declare the things inside of here. Well, basically here I didn't write down the public or private over here. Well, because if I write down some values inside in the start or in the update, whatever the inside of the functions, it always automatically goes to private, right? So I'm going to call this one as spacing. Let's start from the 0. And then spacing is a 0, but if I want to give the if condition, okay, sorry. I think we need to have that inside of the j, inside of the for loop. And I said spacing is start from the 0, but if with this some condition, I want to make it like 1.05 f. Every double line, the location of the brick is going to move to x-axis a little bit, right? Half of them. But in which case, for example, we can say if j equal to 4, 6, something like that, right? That's what we want to say. In this case, what we can do is j percentage 2 equal 0. Percentage is remains. J percentage to 0 means every even number. If you're confusing about the percentage, for example, 5% 3 equal actually 2, and 5% 4 is 1. 5% 5 is 0. It calculated remains always. So for example, if it is 2, it's going to be 1 as well, right? So this and this is going to be same. And now you can see the error over here inside the if. This is only the case inside of the if. When we say if j is, for example, if j equal to something, we have to write down 2 equals. So this is just rules inside of the if condition. So j percentage 2, so the remain of the 2 of j when it goes to 0, which means when it's the even numbers, the spacing goes to 1.05. Otherwise, it always keep the 0. And then here, I just want to add spacing. Now it moves to the 1.05, right? So now it looks like the brick wall. And then when you look at the hierarchy, it's a bit like messy over here, right? So for that, inside of the instantiate, what we can do, just add, you can see here, right? Transform parent. Well, what is parent? It's like the layers. For example, if I have the game object over here, if I have the spheres, or capsules, whatever, does not matter. Now each of them are just separated object, but if I select them, if I bring inside of the game object, now it's inside of the game object. So it's like a layer, but this is called parents. These are called children or child. So now if I move the game object itself, everything is going to move together. It's kind of grouping or layers. So this makes So I added just transform in the end of the instantiate. So it tells who is going to be the parent in this case. So after they instantiate the brick, they make this brick as a child of this transform. What's transform here? Transform actually is the same as this dot transform, means this transform, which is the transform, I mean game object, which contains this script. For now, Brick Manager contains Brick Manager script, right? So if I run this one right now, every single the bricks who's the children of the Brick Manager. Now you don't see any of the bricks inside of the hierarchy, but you can see here arrows over here, and then you will see all the bricks went inside of children of brick manager, right? And now it's a bit more organized. And now we want to add just one more function. So maybe we want to control each bricks individually, or we want to make some kind of parametric wall, let's say. And so which means we're going to rotate a little bit each other. I'm going to create again game object, new object inside of the for loop. And then now we're going to define this new object is same as instantiated bricks. And now we can control the result of the instantiated object. For example, if I say new object dot transform rotate. So this means it's gonna rotate which axis, according to which axis. So this is x, y, and z, obviously. So y axis is going to be the center, and now it's going to rotate 30-degree. Now you will see all the bricks rotated 30-degree. And now if I click each object, it says rotation is 30 over here. So what we can do over here, just using the y, but we want to have the different angles for each location. So for example, something like that maybe. So according to the I and j location, angles is going to be different. Each bricks has been rotated in different angle according to their location, right? Every time when it goes to the I-axis, it added 3 more. So now I think this is a 0 rotation. And then in the end, 27. We will start from the 0 and 9. And then on top, it rotated even 39 degrees, right? Of course, we can change the number of the walls like this one. We can increase, I don't know, 20 by 20. So result of that, we have this shape.